It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
Hey football fans, this is Claire Madsen from the Nease varsity cheer team. I am so excited to welcome Anthony Richards and the Todd to the 32081 studios and hear what they have to say about the on-fire 4-0 Nease football team. Go Panthers!
And thank you, Claire, for that great introduction. Always appreciate the Nease cheerleaders coming by. And also, just so everyone knows, I did try to reach out to Ponte Vedra. I'm still waiting to hear back from Coach Angie. Hopefully we'll have some Ponte Vedra cheerleaders also do the introductions. But thank you very much again, Claire, for that great welcome for Anthony Richards and myself. Anthony, as always, how you doing, sir? We had a great Thursday and Friday of football last week.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Todd. That was I think just saying wow explains it pretty good.
I mean, wow for both games. So let's start with the first big wow. Ponte Vedra could not have planned it better with a 40-0 win on homecoming night. Dude, you were there. I mean, this thing looked like it was done at halftime. It was unbelievable looking at the score and the box score. And a great article, by the way, if no one's read it. Anthony's got 2 great articles out there on Ponte Vedra Recorder. Anthony, tell me what you saw out there.
Yeah, it was just pretty much, the Sharks, like you said, controlled it from start to finish. They could, kind of whatever play they called, it seemed to be working offensively. And, Menendez is, they've got a couple of wins on the year going into that game. And they're they've kind of always been now for a while that scrappy team in the county that, can pop up and get you for some surprise wins, any week. But they were just just seemed to be outmatched, at time and especially physically, the Sharks were able to just kind of push them around and kind of have their way on both sides of the ball, harassing the young quarterback for Menendez and Brian, running the ball and Drew throwing the ball and just kind of having a field day against him from start to finish.
Yeah, we are going to try to get Brian on and hopefully some other players in the future because I know I was texting with Brian back and forth hoping to have him on and our schedules didn't connect. So we'll try to get some of the players on for our next show. I want to ask you about one picture, though, before we start talking about the game in greater detail, though. There was a picture that the quarterback was about, 4 feet off the ground or something what was going on in that picture? Was it just the defensive line was in his face that he had to try to get that high or what? Because I was like, what is that boy doing? He's like climbing a ladder.
Yeah. I think he just saw the rush coming and he just wanted to kind of leap up and throw it. And yeah, when I got that still shot, I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. It's kind of like he's almost leaping into the defender.
But yeah, that was a great picture. So let me ask you this about Drew. It seems like Drew, we kind of talked about like when I was going back and forth with Brian after the last game and he was saying, hey, we're looking at the season now, we got our 1 loss and we've refocused. It seems like it's paying off, especially Drew. Drew comes, he was responsible for 3 touchdowns, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it seems like he's getting more comfortable back there. Also, Brian ended up with a touchdown as well. I think he's averaging over 100 yards now per game, if I looked at the stats right. Mm-hmm. So do you think it's just a matter of those 2, specifically Drew also getting comfortable with his line, getting comfortable with Brian running the ball, and then on the other side, I'll say it seems like the defense is getting a breather because of the offense being able to kind of work the ball in, and then the defense is getting in there and they're just shutting them down. So what is it with Drew? Do you think it's all of the above? Is it just you think he's getting more comfortable in the pocket? What did you see on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think it's just all the above. I think the line's doing a much better job. They're creating holes for Brian, which takes some of the pressure off Drew, and he can just kind of sit back there and, kind of be able to survey the field or off play action, find his reads. And I think he's just becoming more comfortable as he's completing more passes and I think he's just developed. I was able to talk to him some after the game and he's just, I think, growing into that starting role. It's just a role, like we said, going into that tough environment at Nease. It was kind of his first time doing something like that. So, I mean, you never know what to expect. I think he learned a lot from that. The whole team did. And I think they just kind of use that and just continue to grow each week. I know, defensively, I talked to JP Dolan, who's around there, he's along the front 7 there for the Sharks, who have really, just played like we kind of expected, since the Nease game. And he said it's kind of like they just, flipped a switch and, didn't just completely forget about that game, but kind of used it as fuel and learning. And in these last 3 weeks, they've really gotten on a roll. And I mean, they're really riding a lot of momentum heading into district play.
Now, I think you also mentioned in the article, one thing that I thought was fascinating was you talked about how the Falcons basically had to give up on the run because they were so far behind. And that's probably also in large part because of that defensive four that we talked about. So with that said, and I believe it was Phil and Dave that you had written about that had gotten a interception also. So now you finally got to see some action, I think, from that secondary that I know I've had questions about. How did they look in this game compared to previous games now that you could really focus on them and you saw them go up against a pass?
Yeah, they look better. I think also the communication looked better, which is a big thing. And you got to know, which side of the field you're covering and who's got who and all that. And I think obviously the defensive front, can help the secondary a lot by getting pressure on the quarterback and forcing him to throw it quicker than he wants to, and that allows the secondary to create possible turnover opportunities. And the Sharks were able to capitalize, on that against Menendez. And so if the defensive line continues to do their part, I think they'll definitely help the secondary out. But the communication was definitely a big thing I noticed. I think they're really starting to kind of, realize their roles, understand each other, and kind of just know where everyone's supposed to be. It seems more in sync than from since week one.
Well, it's definitely a good victory out there for Ponte Vedra, 40-0 again over Menendez last Thursday. So congratulations to them. We will talk about their upcoming district game against Fleming Island as soon as we get done talking about the Nease game, which if you live under a rock, you might not have heard about it. But what a game, Anthony. The Panthers are down 21-0. We've got some interviews to go through. They're down 21-0. Going into the half. The second half, if anyone left either at halftime or after the third quarter when Nease was down 28-7, I think it's safe to say, Anthony, you probably missed one of the best games that you would ever see if you're a football fan. Forget if you're a fan of either school. Just a phenomenal fourth quarter to watch.
Oh, yeah, game of the year candidate for sure here early on, and it's going to be hard to beat. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the game of the year at the end of the year. But obviously we've got a lot of games left to play. But it was just a crazy game. They talk about two separate pretty much different halves, with St. Augustine controlling the first half and really putting Nease in a big hole. At halftime down 21-0, but then Nease comes out with a great mindset and just starts chipping away at it. And you can kind of start as they get into the fourth quarter, they've cut it to two possessions, and you can start to really feel like, okay, this comeback isn't just one of those where you get close, but it's hard to come all the way back. I mean, this is a legitimate comeback bid, and they were able to do it and then finish it off, going to overtime. It was an epic game for sure.
So the first player that I want to bring up here that we talked to was Tyler Gazanfari. What a night this kid had. I mean, from kicking to receiving. Just to throw out some numbers here, he was 3 of 5 for 47 yards receiving. 2 of those were over 20 yards. He had the tying touchdown at the end of regulation for the Panthers. Also, of his catches, 3 of them were for first downs, which included huge conversions around 3:30, or a huge conversion around 3 minutes and 30 seconds left, and it was a 4th and 13. He came through there. He also had a fumble recovery that ended up converting into a first down. And then after he scored the tying touchdown, he had to turn around and kick the extra point to tie it up. Actually, I guess I should say the touchdown put them within 1. The point after put them tied up the game. Mm-hmm. His punting, 4 punts for an average of 39 yards, and his longest was 54, and he was 5 of 5 on extra points. And I think also the key was the onside kick. But real quick, I caught up with Tyler afterwards. He's not a man of many words, but I asked him about as far as his kicking, because he was just ice when he out there, and he nailed it. Like I said, 5 for 5. So here's what Tyler had to say after the game. I just want to ask you one thing. You had those 3 major kicks with the overtime and at the end of the game. How did it feel to you? I mean, were you just in a zone, or were you was it getting to you, or what?
No, it was just I just knew that my snapper would get it back, my holder would hold it, and I'm just going to kick it through the field goal.
You're right, man. Good job. Like I said, Anthony, he's not a man of many words, right? But I mean, they were obviously excited after the game. But what did you think about that performance from Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that just can do so many different things and cover so many different roles. And those are the guys that you need on your team. And every team needs guys like that. Those kind of glue guys that can just be so versatile. And coaches love those guys. I know they can be so versatile, and they can help you in so many ways, whether it's on both sides of the ball, special teams, and they can just do whatever you ask of them, and they can do it, exceptionally well. And those are sometimes the guys that really help on those deep playoff runs. Everyone talks about the kind of the star players that take all the kind of the limelight and spotlight. But those kind of key role guys that can do so much are, a lot of times the difference in if you win that state title or not, because they make such a difference in those post games and down the stretch.
We were also able to catch up with Joe Miracle. You can tell he's having a blast, Anthony. Joe's just having a great time after being away for a year. And when I saw him after the game, I was like, I got to talk to him because his smile was just from ear to ear. So Joe finished with 5 solo tackles, 5 assists, and then he had a key block for Elijah Luckett. Now, a lot of people just paint this picture here. The first play that St. Augustine ran, the first play of the half actually after the kickoff, Eli Luckett intercepted the pass and ran it back for a touchdown. And what some people might have missed was that Joe had a key block on that. And I was able to catch up with him after the game, and I asked him, I said, what changed in the second half? Because the team looked a little tight to me, honestly, Anthony, in the first half. But then in the second half, they really looked like the team we've seen in the past few games. In the second half, it looks like you guys just flipped on the fun meter and just went berserk. I mean, what changed for you in the second half?
We just came out. We had to set the tone in the second half. We come out, get a 3 and out, and then we get a pick when they threw it deep on second. I think it was second down, right? And then Eli picks it off. I'm out lead blocking. I block Trent, and Eli cuts back, scores. That set the tone for the second half. And I really feel like this group is special. We worked out three times a day, 5 days a week, every day this whole summer. I feel like our grit and the way we worked this summer, it just makes us better than everybody else. So,
how big of a win is this going into Buchholz district play next week?
Oh, it's huge. They're like Draft said, they're the state runner-up. That's a very good football team. They have a bunch of Division I guys all over. And, to beat them, we haven't beat them since 2019. And first time in Coach Draft's and Coach G's coaching history we've ever beat them. So that's one of the biggest wins we have on our record.
And then, Anthony, right after I talked to Joe, I was able to catch Noah Hodge. Noah Hodge came up with a big stop at the goal line with Kyle Hurtado in overtime. Kyle actually had a hold of Lachlan Hewlett, and then you saw Noah come up and hit him and keep him at the 1 yard line from getting in the goal line. It was a great team effort there. And I asked him about that big stop at the goal line and how the defense flipped after the second half after Eli's interception. Noah, last play of the game, overtime. What was going through your head as soon as you saw that guy coming at you? Because you stopped him, man. You saved the game for Nease.
Yes, sir. I was just thinking, I look at him coming at me, and I went down at him, and I was like, I got to make a play, so I went down and made the play.
How was the defense tonight? It looked like the first half, okay, they put up 21 points on you, but the one thing about this team is you guys never quit. You guys always believe in each other. Did something just flip the switch after Eli's interception for the touchdown?
That definitely gave us momentum. But at half, we were all picking each other up. We all knew we were going to win this game.
So, Anthony, before we get to the offensive side of the ball, you listen to those two boys talk right there, and you could hear the excitement. It was a heck of an atmosphere for them. But really, it was a tale of two halves. The defense just stepped it up and only held St. Augustine to that one touchdown in the second half. They came out after that interception by Eli and just shut them down.
Yeah, they shut him down for sure. I know Eli, I was talking to him a little bit after the game as well, and he said, something about Coach Drafts. He's probably the best, just motivational pep talk speaker that he's ever had as a coach. And that paid off. That whatever he said at halftime got him going. And the Eli interception just kicked it off. And then, but I think it was 3 or 4 straight 3 and outs. It seemed like after that, St. Augustine defense, Lachlan Hewlett was getting frustrated because he was looking around when he had time. No one was open, and then the pressure would come on him, and he was kind of running for his life. And he was just frustrated. You could tell, he's like, why is it not so easy like it was in the first half? And the Nease defense, the adjustments they made were spot on, and it really gave the offense some time to get in the rhythm, which took a little while, but because of the defense, they were able to really keep him in the game and even score a touchdown, so get on the board. And in the offense, you gave the time to the offense to eventually establish the rhythm and become the offense that we're used to seeing. And at that point, pretty much, at that point, kind of game over, because St. Augustine, I think, began to mentally just kind of get so frustrated, and it has a lot to do with the defense and frustration on the offensive side of the ball for them.
So one of the other interesting stats here was that St. Augustine, of course, Lachlan Hewlett, who's a great quarterback, came in. I believe it was a Wake Forest commit, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But the passing yardage for St. Augustine was 137, and for Nease it was 222. And then when you look at the rushing side, 187 for St. Augustine, Nease was 126. One thing I thought was key for Nease here, and I'd like to get your opinion after we hear from Coach Morales, was that the offense, we've seen them in the first, 4 games. The first 2 games, they really had to rely on the passing. They didn't rush that much. Then all of a sudden we saw them the third game, they started relying on the rush more because of the weather conditions and so on and so forth. And now we see them, establish 222 passing and 126 rushing. So I was able to catch up with Coach Morales, who coaches the offensive line, and I asked him about the offensive line being able to allow the pass the first 2 games, and then, like I just said, also being able to lean on the run and looking very balanced in the St. Augustine game.
The main thing I'm telling them all, we have to be playing together. We're a brotherhood. We play for each other. I think our kids are finally realizing how big that is. We're not the biggest, we're not the strongest, but because they're playing so hard for each other and we're pulling each other up, I think that's what's making it work. We want to be based with the run play and the pass play. We got to do a little bit of both, like a good offense. So I think our top 5 are just gelling more together, playing together, and they never come off the field. So that is the goal for the O-liners. They're always going to be out there playing, and we play for each other. That's the main thing.
So, Anthony, after hearing Coach Morales there, what are your thoughts with the offensive line and how they've performed through the first 4 games?
I continue to be really impressed with the offensive line at Nease, especially like we talked about, in the past, how it's such a new group. Like, everyone's new, and for them to mesh so early, credit to coach, the coaching staff, and credit to the guys for just obviously putting in the work and, also, off the field, getting to know each other and developing those relationships that translates on the field. They truly trust each other. They're working in sync, and it's tough. There's not a lot of groups can be good at both pass protection and blocking of the run. And normally they're better. They prefer one way or the other, and they're just kind of they can do the other way, but it's it's not what they would rather do. This group seems to do whatever they ask. Whatever you ask of them, whatever drafts calls up, they're blocking it practically to perfection the majority of the time, and that bodes really well for an offense that already looks explosive. And that group's just going to continue to grow and mesh. It's going to be really fun, and they've showed they can win because of that offensive line up front. They can win, like you said, throwing the ball, running the ball. If they need to be more balanced, which is good because they get a lot of defenses throughout the state that approach things differently. They may want to take away the pass or may want to take away the run, and it shows that no matter what you throw at them, they'll take it and they'll adapt, and that's a big credit to the offensive line. Like Coach Jeffs has told me, it starts and ends with those guys, and they're proof of that so far this year.
Now, the last player interview we have is with Maddox Spencer. I do have one surprise one after him. But as far as Maddox is concerned, he also had a great night. He tied a school record with 15 receptions in one game. That was a great job by Maddox. And the other thing, too, is he obviously had that the onside kick recovery that set up Nease to be able to go down and tie the game in regulation and go into overtime. But Maddox overall had a fantastic night. He finished with 2 touchdowns. One was in the overtime for them to go up in the game. And then, as we know, like we talked about with Noah, they were able to hold him. He had the onside kick recovery. In fact, 3 of his receptions, Anthony, I don't know if you remember this, but 3 of his receptions were over 20 yards, which was key in some of those big drives that they had. So here's the question that I asked him. I said, with all of the different receivers that have been targeted, because you're looking at 5-6 receivers being targeted per game, which didn't do a whole lot of in the past, because we just talked about Tyler's great game as well. So I asked him about the strength of the receiving corps and also what was going through his mind during the onside kick and the eventual recovery.
We really have 6 receivers that can do are just as good as we're all just as good. And when you have that many good receivers, the defense can't double someone. And if they do, then we're just going to make them pay with another receiver.
The last question I got for you is, this would not have been possible without the onside recovery. What was going through your mind when you're lining up for that, and then when Tyler put that in play for you to make the play?
I lined up. I was like, we've got to get this kick. And then I saw the ball rolling, and I knew it was going to bounce up, and I was unblocked, and it bounced right up. I just hit the kid, and the ball fell in my hands.
Anthony, I think a good word to describe this receiving corps, as good as they are, is unselfish. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. I would, that's a good word. Yeah, for sure. Because there's so many of them that can contribute. And down the stretch, you'd think, okay, Nate, it's crucial time. He'll just look to Maddox and kind of just focus in on him. But no, he really does, believe in all his guys. And he surveys the field, and he throws it to the guy that's open, I mean, and so many of them that can get open, and they've shown that already this year. And it helps everyone. It helps Maddox, helps everyone involved. And, but yeah, Maddox with the 15 catch performance, it's pretty impressive and just clutch, like big guys come to play in big moments. And he's obviously a leader and a big contributor on this team, and he couldn't have come through at a bigger moment. So yeah, congrats to him.
Let me ask you a question. You've been covering high school football, and specifically St. Johns County, a lot longer than I have. Has it been unusual for you to cover an offense like this, where you have a quarterback that is so in tune with 6 receivers? I mean, usually I would expect at this age and stuff I've seen in the past, you have maybe 2, maybe 3, right? That the quarterback leans on, has that chemistry with. But it really seems that if the ball's called for a certain receiver, or he's got a 1, 2, 3 read, Nate's not hesitant to throw it to any of them. I mean, that seems kind of unique to me, but I don't know. I want to ask you, since you've covered high school sports for so long.
It's definitely unique for sure. I mean, our drafts, has had some Nease offenses in the past himself. The team that went to the Elite Eight, handful of years now or so. But then they had some explosive guys, and Stokes throwing the ball. But still, I don't remember quite like a bevy of receivers like they currently do, on the team, and guys that are contributing. They're not just on the team or running routes as decoys. Like, they know they run a route, there's a chance they're going to get the ball, and Nate's going to find them. And so it's a confidence in him, trusting his guys. It's, they know that, I'm not just out here running around. He may not, he's going to actually throw me the ball if I get open. So it allows them to, really strive to get open, and then when it's their turn, they make the play. And I mean, it really is impressive, and it's not something you see even at the best teams at the high school level. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to just develop, and maybe if even more get involved, so
yeah, it could be very dangerous even getting more involved with this group. Before we switch to talking about the upcoming games, my last interview was actually, I was very happy to be able to get this one, but actually Nate's mom. I didn't talk to the quarterback this time. I talked to the quarterback's mom. I caught up with Mandy. I asked her about what was going through her head with the onside kick, and then also just about being a mom and watching Nate play and her feelings about the game. And I'm very, very thankful that she was able to talk to me. But let me go and play that interview right now with Mandy Harry. So I saw you, fourth quarter? And you were, I'm going to say, a little stressed. Just a little bit, right?
I was.
So what was going through your mind on that onside kick when Max came up with that?
Well, I was praying very hard, and, I've seen that onside kick work for Nease before, I think back in 2021. And, I was just praying, and I don't know, just so excited.
How's it feel being a mom? Your son played excellent. Not only did he play excellent, but he also remained calm, and he was definitely the leader on the offense. I know he's been waiting for this time. How does it make you feel as a mom?
These are the times that we wait for. We see all of the work and everything that Nate put in for all these years, and he waited very patiently. And now it's his time, and I just couldn't be more proud of him. It's so exciting.
I think it's fair to say everyone's proud of Nate, Anthony, after that one. I know I am. It was a great performance. And like you said, and like she said, he's been waiting for this time patiently. And I think it just showed in this game, because in the second half, he was not rattled, and he was able to lead that offense to a victory.
Yeah, no, I mean, ice water in his veins for sure, you know, and especially after the rough start, you're thinking, okay, it's just the offense doesn't look quite, in sync. All the cogs aren't quite hitting, in the early going, but the adjustments at halftime, and he looked like a totally different quarterback. And as a result, the offense looked totally different in the second half. And yeah, I mean, it just showed the adversity that he and this team displayed, to fight through that adversity, and then just the determination to get it done and finish the job. That's going to go a long way this season for sure.
All right, so let's switch to the upcoming games, and hopefully we get them in with the tropical storm / hurricane brewing out in the Gulf. So hopefully we'll be talking about these next week. But let's go and start off with the Sharks. They're going to be playing Fleming Island, and Fleming Island's been putting up some points here. They put up 30 against Clay, 39 against Riverside, then 49 against Orange Park. So when I looked at this at first, you're kind of saying to yourself, hey, this is an offense that could put some points up. But then you kind of look at the Ponte Vedra defensive stats, and they've only allowed 59 to 85. So Fleming Island, except for one or two, they've been kind of in some shootouts here. When I looked at this and kind of broke it down, and also with Brian averaging 100 yards per game at the rush, I am going to take Ponte Vedra in this game because I think Ponte Vedra's defense is not going to allow the scoring that Fleming Island is used to. Don't get me wrong. I think Fleming Island's a good team, but I feel that the Sharks are just clicking on a different cylinder right now. I think the defensive front four could really give their rushing a little bit of a hard time. And I think Drew now, especially after this homecoming game against Menendez and the offense, I think they've got their confidence back. So I definitely see, in my opinion, the Sharks coming out of this with a win. I'm going to say probably somewhere like 27-21.
Yeah, the momentum is definitely, in the Sharks' favor with, coming off of 3 straight wins and looking to make it 4 now, heading into district play where it just, ratchets it up a little bit more even, and so now the games are really, they mean a lot more. So, there's going to be an extra focus for sure. And I know that, the Sharks will have it. And yeah, defensively, I think that they're going to show Fleming Island something they haven't quite seen yet this year. And it's going to be interesting to see how both teams kind of do with it. I know that Fleming Island's playing at home and they did have a bye, last week. So those are certain things that might, you'd say, okay, give them a little bit of an advantage. But I think the Sharks have shown that they've really, flipped the switch, and it's almost like an entirely new season for them. So, I think that they're on such a roll. I wouldn't put anything past them. And I think it's going to be a great game for sure. A great district opener for both teams.
I agree. And also, so Buchholz, they are going to be coming to Nease. And again, I want to talk about the points allowed. Nease, as we know, their defense is just playing phenomenal. 21 points in the first half was a kind of a shocker, I think, for a lot of people at St. Augustine, but then they showed their true selves in the second half by only allowing 7. So when you look at them, they've only allowed 48 points, while Buchholz is allowing 105. So with the points scored, both offenses is relatively the same. I think it was like within about 10. So I definitely give Nease a nod, and I don't know when I would never give Nease's defense a nod in this case, the way that Coach Garth has them clicking over there. But Buchholz passes quite a bit, and their run game has been effective. In fact, their last game was a 35-28 victory over Richmond Hill. They had 303 yards in the air. That's unbelievable to me. 303 yards in the air, 96 on the ground, which was the lowest yards they've had in 5 games. I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be, again, probably not a blowout, but I still like Nease in this one specifically because even though the offense is playing good, I think that 6 wide receiver weapons is tough. I think KJ Perry is coming along in the backfield with the run, but more importantly, I think the defense now, they got that first half out of St. Augustine out of them. I don't think they want to let that happen again. So I like Nease in this game. I'm going to pick this game 32-17 Nease.
Yeah, 2 top 5 teams, going at it. It's going to be a heck of a showdown for sure. And I know Buchholz is they're always one of those teams that, makes, runs as a contender every year, it seems like. And it's going to be, now it's a district game as well. Their only losses are to Manatee, which is number 5 in 5A. And then Richmond Hill, which is an undefeated team in Georgia. So, so basically, they're, their number 4 ranking, proves it. But then Nease is number 2. So, this is just like another epic showdown for sure. It's gonna, be interesting to see how Nease responds from the emotional win. Following it up with another mega showdown, and this one is in district. But I think definitely Nease having it at home, having Buchholz travel from Gainesville is definitely. It's always an advantage to be the one playing at home.
Yeah, it
and
definitely is, yeah.
Having the comfort of home, and the crowd will definitely be into it. And so, I think that alone probably give, in an even battle, it seems like, I think that gives the edge to the Panthers for sure.
Now, I will tell you that I am going to call out some students, though, real quick, that are going to go to this game Friday. But I'm going to call out the sophomore and freshman kids over sitting in the student section at Nease. You guys need to get off your phone, stop talking, stop taking selfies, and start getting loud and start cheering. Because when I was on the field with you, Anthony, during one of the games, I looked up there, and like half the stands were cheering. I'm going, wait a minute, this isn't Nease. These stands should be going crazy in the student section. I asked them, and they said, that's the sophomores and the freshmen. They can't hear, so they're not cheering. No, turn around, get off your phone, stop talking, cheer on the Panthers, let's get loud. I think Ponte Vedra and Nease, like I said, I call both wins on both sides. I think they're both playing great football. Mm-hmm. And I think regardless of what game you're at, you're in for a real treat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another epic week, another massive showdowns. We're fully into district play now. So like every week is going to be not just big time games, but games that are very meaningful and going to go a long way in determining whether these teams make the playoffs or not. So
what's your plan for this week? You don't have it as easy, do you?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go to Nease and I'm hoping to just kind of hang out there and watch that big game, and then just kind of hopefully get updates from Ponte Vedra because they're over in Clay. I know our sister paper, the Clay Today, will have someone there covering from the Fleming Island point of view. So I'm gonna get some updates from them, and just kind of sit back and enjoy this big time top 5 showdown between Nease and Buchholz.
Sounds great, Anthony. Well, thanks for all your hard work. As always, go check them out on Twitter, aka X. That is ANTNY Rich. That is at ANTNY Rich. And also be sure to go check out his articles. He's got 2 great ones up there right now. PonteVedraRecorder.com. Anthony Richards, the best in the business here in St. Johns County. Seems like we're able to get the predictions right, even though some other media outlets can't get them right, Anthony. So you're doing a great job. So thank you very much for all you do. And also thank you all for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate all you listening and downloads to the show. For Anthony Richards, I'm the Todd for the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.